Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make my gluten-free carrot almond date cookies. Hardly any ingredients go into these at all. Pretty much just what I told you, except there's coconut and eggs. No flour, no butter, just the carrot, dates, almonds, coconut, and eggs. So this recipe is super fast and super easy. If you don't have a food processor, you might want to get one, and it really will make fast work of your almonds and your dates. But it's really not necessary. You could really finely chop your dates and your almonds. It would just take longer. So I've got my food processor ready. I've got everything else. I'm going to turn on my oven to 350. So I've got 2 cookie sheets here lined with parchment paper, and then this is a small cookie scoop. I think it's about a teaspoon, heaping teaspoon. You could make them a little bit bigger, but I find that this size is perfect. And then I've got 1 cup of dates, which is about 12 dates, medium size. And my dates are not pitted. So I've just been going through and taking the pits out, and then I'm cutting my dates, in about quarters, just to help the food processor, because dates are really sticky. But you don't have to cut them. I just find it's easier for the food processor to grind them up when they're not really big whole dates. You can buy pitted dates already. I don't know that I've noticed that much of a price difference from pitted as opposed to not pitted. And the fresher your dates are, the softer they are. So these ones are pretty soft and really sticky. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my almonds chopped up. And this is 2 cups of raw almonds. I'm not using toasted almonds here because they're going to go in the oven. And then we want to grind these down to about medium fine. We don't want a really fine powder. You want some chunks in there for texture. That was so loud. And clean up my mess here. So I do have some kind of big chunks in here, but that's all right. You want them mostly chopped. And actually, that's not as chopped as I want them to be. They're pretty big pieces still. So let's go back in the food processor. Ooh. I'm just making such a mess all over everything today. And that is much better. So you don't want this to be almond powder, but you do want some chunks in here for texture, just like this. I suppose in a pinch you could use almond flour, but usually almond flour is ground really fine. And that might change the dryness of these cookies. So in with my dates. And for that matter, you could probably use your favorite nut. If you don't have any almonds, use pecans or walnuts, something like that. Now for the dates, we want these ground into a paste. And you might think it will never grind down, but it does. And then when it turns into a ball, just like this, you know that you've got it into a finely ground paste. Be very careful with your blade. And then next up is our carrots. And most food processors that I've ever bought come with another blade besides the one that sits in the bottom there. And this one has a grating and a slicing attachment. Most of the time I'll use my salad shooter when I'm grating carrots. But because I've already got the food processor out and I have this grating blade, it's just one less appliance to clean. So now we'll just grate our 2 carrots. We need 1 cup of shredded carrots, which is about 2 carrots. So these cookies are really minimal ingredients, super fast and easy to make, but so messy. You end up with carrots all over, almonds all over, dates are sticky. And I always do my carrots after my dates. That way, if there's any sticky date parts left here in the food processor, the carrots will pick them up. And that is the 1 cup of carrots that I need. I'm going to break apart my date ball here. So then in with our 1 cup of carrots, in with our almonds and our dates. You could do this in a stand mixer if you wanted to. In fact, you could have even processed all of it in your food processor. Because the dates are so thick, I don't feel like my food processor would be able to handle all of this together. But if you have a really large food processor, use that. So then I've got 2 eggs here. I'm gonna crack them both into this bowl and then mix them up with a fork, just to give them a head start. If you're using some kind of mixer, I don't recommend a hand mixer. This mixture is too thick for the motor of a hand mixer, at least for mine. In fact, I usually end up just mixing it with my hands rather than a spatula anyways, just because the date paste is really thick and sticky. So now that I've got my eggs, I'm just going to dump them all in. And then just get in here with your hand and start mixing it around. Once you get the almonds mixed in with the date paste and the carrots and the eggs, they're not super sticky on your hand. So I'm just going to get as much of this off of my hands as I can before I wash up. And then I'm going to clean up all of my appliances and dishes here. Oh, my oven is ready. So now that I've got everything cleaned up, I'm going to bring my cookie sheets closer. And I didn't mention, but you've probably already noticed, these cookies are also dairy-free. But this would so easily be made without eggs. You could use chia seeds or a flax egg, and it would probably change the flavor a little bit, but it wouldn't matter. I think they'd still be delicious. So now with our cookie scoop, we're just gonna get, kind of a heaping teaspoon here, which this is about a teaspoon, and then roll it into a ball and then into our coconut. And this is unsweetened shredded coconut. Normally for something like this, I like to use the really fine shredded coconut, but because there's hardly any ingredients in here, I like using the shredded coconut to give it a little bit more texture. And then if it needs a little bit of help rolling into a ball, you can do that. It's pretty soft. And then it helps to squish the coconut and press it onto your cookie dough. And this part too is very messy. So my first cookie sheet is full. Because I've got 3 cookie dough balls here in my coconut, I'm just going to get them covered and on this next cookie sheet, and then put my first tray in the oven. You could double up and do 2 cookie sheets at a time, but I can just get these ones ready while the first tray is in the oven. So these go in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. I start checking them at 10, and then if they need to go extra, I can go a little extra. So I'm just going to keep going with my cookie dough. You know, I always start out rolling these into balls, but then by the time I'm halfway through, I just take a scoop and plop it right into my coconut, and then shaping it in with the coconut forms it into a ball. And if you don't have a cookie scoop, just use a small spoon or something like that. And then it's a little less messy on your hands. So my cookies went for about 11 minutes. And what you're looking for is you want them to be toasted and golden brown on the bottom here. Some of these other ones are a little bit darker, and that's just fine. But you don't want them to stay in the oven too long, and then the coconut will burn. And you don't even really need a spatula. And if you're using the same parchment paper between batches of cookies, you'll want to dump off the extra coconut just so it doesn't burn in the oven either. And if you wanted to, you could have flattened them out, but I think they look just fine in their little shape. And you can put them closely together on the cookie sheet because they don't spread at all. So let's give one a bite. Take one of these cooled off ones. Let's break it open and see what it looks like. I'm pretty sure it will look the exact same on the inside as it did when we first made them. I think they look like carrot cake. They're really good. They're not super sweet at all. The only sweetness is coming from the dates, and of course the carrots are a little bit sweet. And my coconut is unsweetened coconut. So if you use sweetened coconut, then your date cookies will be a lot sweeter. But I don't think it needs any more sweetness. The dates add just enough. But such a fun little cookie. And a pretty healthy little snack too. So not really even a cookie. And you can make these dairy-free, and there's no flour at all. And you could make these using a different nut. You could use pecans or walnuts, whatever your favorite nut is. Super fast and easy to make. You could even make the dough the day before or whenever and stick it in the fridge, and then it's ready when you're ready. And I would think too, you could shape that whole cookie dough into a log and then wrap it in plastic wrap, stick it in the fridge, and then just cut it in slices if you want a bigger cookie. But I think this is a really good size because they are kind of rich because of the dates. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.